Welcome back to the Zen of Business. I'm Jonathan, and I have Justin Sutherland in here. He is a restaurateur, inventor, investor, luminary. I could go on, but he's running a lot of restaurants out of the Midwest. He's running a restaurant group which has 9 under its umbrella at this point, 3 in construction. So it's just really an impressive endeavor, and we saw him on stage yesterday, and we're excited to sit Justin down today. So, Justin, can you tell us about what's the name of the restaurant group, and what are some of the house brands that you have now?
Yeah, so I operated at JP Hospitality and the Madison Restaurant Group. It started with my namesake cornerstone restaurant, Handsome Hog, that we kind of branded as an upscale Southern theme, little barbecue aspects, but really taking that, that soul food people love in the South and kind of elevating it.
In Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis, correct. So, there hasn't been a lot of great Southern foods in Minneapolis and in the Midwest, and then B, kind of elevating that to the next level. From there, I've opened a few more concepts, and then recently this year I just won Iron Chef, and then competed on Top Chef and made it to the finals on that. So That's kind of springboarded a lot of the attention my way, and it's allowed me to take over our restaurant group with other concepts, from anything from Japanese, noodle shops and ramen bars to Chicago-style pizza, to some bars and grills, and a couple quick counter service concepts that we have in the works right now.
Amazing. So you run the gamut on different fairs, and immediately my question is just like, where do you get the inspiration for all these different concepts, and how so many of them hit?
I think the first thing that I've learned that I do when we go into different neighborhoods is really tapping into what that neighborhood needs, what it's missing, talking to the people, and finding out what they want. Because I could have a great idea and bring it anywhere, but if it's not what fits what's happening in that neighborhood, be it financially, be it socially, be it not being what's next door. So I think it's most important to tap into the street and see what the people want.
So you go, you campaign, you knock on doors?
Absolutely. Just asking questions, shaking hands, and finding out what they want.
Yeah, I heard it was a marketing thought leader, I forget his name off the top of my head, but what he said is basically, I think it was Russell Brunson actually, he says you want to market to one person. You literally can build your messaging and your narrative and your positioning around one human. Yep. And that target audience, they'll share enough in common with the radiating community around them that it can be effective. And that's why, in business we would call it primary research. In your case, you're going out and you're doing qualitative interviews. And that's, I think, super powerful, because on the one-to-one basis, like there's a certain tone and feel to a neighborhood, and if you can emulate that, then save yourself a lot of R&D, headache, maybe lost investments.
And it's becoming a part of that community. At the end of the day, I'm, myself and our group is the product. I'm selling Justin Sutherland. I'm selling what we believe in. I'm not necessarily selling a piece of pizza or a burger, because a lot of us can do those things well. But what takes it to the next level is that connection that you have with, with your consumers.
Yeah, and they buy it because it was made by Justin.
Right.
And it carries the Justin storyline and the message. If there was struggles in your youth, or if there's certain things that you overcame and they know that, they feel part of that journey.
Absolutely.
I think Rolex is a great example of that, because the piece of metal is only worth, maybe $100 in itself. But people who have watched documentaries, Rolex, everything is done with white gloves, literally.
Yep.
They have these tiny screws, everything's assembled by hand, and it's still very old school, and just the multi-century history that they have just builds so much excitement around it, and I see you as the Rolex of restaurants in that sense, and
appreciate that. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, and I really admire that you get on the ground and you meet people, right? The people are going to be paying you their money, their hard-earned dollar, and I think that's in my opinion, very mindful behavior, because you're giving them, one, your attention, right? Like if a celebrity talks to you, you feel really special. And in some of the other interviews we did today, people talked about the value of attention, and somebody's full attention is basically the best gift that you can give.
Absolutely.
And when somebody in the community gets to have a chat, just as honored as I feel to chat with you, think of the connection that builds for them. It fuses that trust.
Yep. And I think I think that speaks to the, going from, chef, from line cook to chef, then to restaurateur. As a chef, you're putting yourself out there on the plate. Your emotion, your art, it's full of vulnerability. So there's this natural connection between, you and your diners. So taking those principles and then bringing that to restaurateur, owner, marketer, a lot of times, the owner of the restaurant group, you don't know who they are. They're sitting somewhere, they're either signing paychecks or this and that. But I've taken those principles of the connection of being a chef and transferred those over to, being the restaurateur and just staying connected with people.
And you've managed to scale it, which is really impressive. I think that's why a lot of business people don't want to do that. They don't think it's scalable.
Yeah.
But people like you are doing it, and it's impressive.
It doesn't always work, and it's not all easy, but, you keep a positive mindset about it and understand, what it is you're working with and what you're trying to accomplish. It works.
And if you zoom out, those challenges, and I mean, even being out and being exhausted, maybe working, 10, 20-hour days, in aggregate, look at you. You built an empire. And that's something to really be recognized and grateful for.
I appreciate that.
So, in the vein of mindfulness and authenticity and connection, can you talk about any daily practices that you have that you think enhance your performance in business and your success as a restaurateur?
I think on many levels. I think first off is having that connection with your staff. When I was coming up, it came from, the old school chefs that, never spoke to you and angry and yelling and nothing was right and this and that.
A lot of yelling in the kitchen.
A lot of yelling in the kitchen. I mean, that's how I came up. And I knew that, first when I became an executive chef and then, moving on, that's not who I wanted to be. It's as simple as walking in and saying hi to your employees and shaking hands and asking how their weekend was and just having that personal connection that they know that I care about them, in their life outside of work, because all of our lives outside of work are generally more important than what we do, for 8 hours a day. And then, from a community aspect, I mean, letting people know what it is that I stand for. I think when you get a lot into some of the larger corporate, entities and whatnot, it's difficult to put your values up front because then there's a fear of alienating people that don't share those values.
Especially on a mass scale.
Especially on a mass scale. But, for me, I think showing those values are important. I mean, standing up for the social issues we believe in, being able to talk about, things like politics and we do a lot of charity events for things like Boys and Girls Club and Children's Hospital, and really putting that out there that, yes, we're a business, yes, there's, financial responsibilities, but, we still, have a soul.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I love the idea of using the soul to drive the business forward. I mean, at the end of the day, your business is your masterpiece, and it's a better vehicle for making change than a lot of nonprofits, in my opinion, because it's just run with a rigor that isn't matched when there's political incentives from donors and things like that in nonprofits. So, can you talk to me a little bit, like, what does your morning routine look like?
Morning routine.
And is there one? Or do you just wake up a boss every day?
No, definitely. By definition, I mean, regardless of how I'm feeling, you walk in and the email list is already that long.
You got no choice but to boss out.
Got no choice, but I think having that little bit of separation. I mean, taking that time for yourself, getting up, getting a workout in the morning, going for a run, drinking your coffee. And honestly, I like to do all of my return emails and everything. I do that before I work out while I'm in bed. I'll wake up and just have, about a 45-minute decompression and just sit and, go through my emails, do all of that stuff, and try and do those things in a place that I'm comfortable, rather than, you get
That's
right
smart. Never heard anyone doing that.
You get right into the office and then phone's ringing. Someone's knocking on the door. The second I walk in the door, it's, can you fix this? Can you fix this? Let me tell you about this. So if I can get those things out of the way before I enter that environment, that's always really important.
Yeah, it sounds like this narrative or this dialogue around full attention is just super powerful. And other interviews that we've done, but also with yourself, like being able to dedicate your attention to the person in the neighborhood who you're going and visiting before you go build a restaurant there, to creating a space at home where you can answer those emails undistracted and give it your full attention.
I think that just speaks to to being present. Regardless of what that situation is, people always ask me, how do you do this? How do you have the time? Your life must be so stressed. When do you sleep? So I think you have to know your limits, know what you can accomplish in a 24-hour period, or even in an 8 to 10-hour period. What can I get done this day? Make a list, prioritize, and focus on those things. Because if you try and conquer the world every single day, you're never going to get anything done. So between that and delegation, having a good team, having people that you can trust. And just trying to be present in whatever, problem you're trying to tackle that day. Let's give that as much attention as possible.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that, you came you put yourself up by your bootstraps. You worked in the kitchen. That's obviously a humbling experience to maybe be a dishwasher first and then
Absolutely.
Working in the kitchen. I mean, you're burning your hands. It's a humbling ride up.
And 12 years making $10 to $14 an hour, wondering what the heck I was doing with my life.
But you build momentum, and it compounds. And I think you've got this crazy business acumen that you maybe don't even realize, or I'm sure you realize at this point, but when I prioritize in the morning, I encourage a lot of people to do it. 30 minutes, prioritize your urgent and important tasks. We call them the MITs on my team. So you have
the what's on fire.
Exactly, literally.
What's on fire right now?
Damn. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's profound business strategy that you just assimilated by being an effective restaurant owner, and that's really impressive. And
appreciate that.
Did you go to business school?
I did. So being a chef wasn't my end all. I always loved to cook, but yes, I did. I went to MSU in Minnesota for business management. Did that, and after I finished there, I sold mortgage for about 6 months and sat in an office.
Really?
And realized that I was going to blow my brains out if I had to spend one more day in a cubicle, or making cold calls, or trying to sell a product that I didn't believe in. So it was at that moment I went back to my dad, and I was like, "This isn't going to work." And he said,
"Wow,
you've always loved to cook. Let's give it a try." So looked at culinary schools and moved down to Atlanta. Did culinary school down there, and really.
Yeah, and you went to the best culinary school there?
Yep, went to the Cordon Bleu in Atlanta. Honestly, I was just looking for somewhere where it wasn't going to snow. After being in Minnesota, I'm going to miss a couple winters. And then here we are. So
it's quite a pedigree.
Yeah.
And I think you didn't mention it, but it's really impressive. Cordon Bleu is obviously a super reputable university and school, and I can see how that set you up for success now. And now that how long have you been running businesses? Maybe what? 10 years?
Yeah, I've been working in the food industry, food world, being a cook for probably about 15, 16 years, but it's only been about 5 years that I've been,
I thought you were younger than me.
What's that?
I thought you were younger than me.
34.
34? Okay, 31.
So I started working in restaurants pretty early, but it's been about 5 years since I opened my first restaurant 4 years ago, honestly, or I'm going on 5.
Okay.
And then it's gone over the course of the last 5 years has scaled to where we are now.
It's crazy. I'm sure the PR and all of the fanfare from the TV shows that you've done have brought a lot of momentum, and I love that because it's just like credit waiting to be had. You need to get out there with a story and with a palate choice
just
like yours.
Knowing and understanding and being able to harness that momentum and that possibility, because there's no guarantees for being on those shows, for being on them, winning, losing, anything. Once it's done is up to you to what you want to do with it. People are going to knock on your door, but do you know how to answer those calls? Do you know what to do with it next? So that was my biggest focus. Is I'm gonna take a big chunk of my life out to to be on Top Chef for 3 months and leave my businesses. And regardless of how I did on that show,
3 months.
I wanted to come home and make sure that I harnessed all of that potential and turned it into something.
And it sounds like you did.
I think so, but still working on it. Still got some mountains to climb.
Yeah, you built those mountains for yourself, right?
Correct.
And that's admirable. So, what I think one of the things I would like to understand is what's the one behavior, either a mindfulness habit or a health habit, or even like a business habit. What's the one thing you would share with other viewers who are interested in running their own business in a mindful way and making purpose and passion profitable?
Yeah.
What's that one thing?
I think the biggest thing is caring about people, and being real and having those real connections, whether it be clients, whether it be employees, whether it be patrons. I think really caring about the people that work for you and that you work for and that are buying your product, because people can see through that very easily. And we can do all the marketing in the world, and I can tell you I have the best burger and sell you one of them, but if it's not great and you don't like me, you're not coming back.
That's a great point. Great way to put it.
I'm a big believer in that. That I'm selling myself, first and foremost, and then the product next.
That's interesting because you have quite a name in the public, and that's got to be a lot of pressure on your shoulders. And I guess how do you manage that pressure? Like the fear of failing is really strong when you got a lot of attention on you.
Right.
So how do you manage that?
Surrounding myself with good people, and being able to, to compartmentalize to a degree, to realize, there's all this out here, there's all this attention, but realizing what's real, knowing the things that are important to you, the friendships, your values, taking time out to, to have fun and enjoy life and do the things that you love to do, and not just be hyper focused on, on the business and making money. I mean, yes, those things are important, but if you put all of your energy into those and yourself dies, those things are going to fail, and fall by the wayside as well, because you won't have the energy, to give to them. So yeah, I make sure that I make time to have fun. I make time for my friends, family, and having a good balance.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember when I was running my first tech company, we were talking about it before the show, but I after that was all said and done, and I was so exhausted after running this first company, this idea came into my head that, like, basically hug your baby to death. When you squeeze your business and your passion so hard and you don't make time for balance and health and stuff like that, it can really sabotage you. Mm-hmm. You're not performing at your best when you're an anxious wreck.
Right.
So.
And I think we definitely forget to give attention to those, or we think that for whatever reason, we don't deserve to, go see that show or go out to dinner or detach or remove ourselves from business for a minute because we're not meeting that deadline, or we're unhappy with our performance, or, we're not making enough money. And we always think that we don't have time for those things and neglect them to the point that, that the business suffers. So know that you're worth it, know that you deserve it. Just because you haven't hit that goal or, didn't succeed that day, you still deserve some time to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think just like in business, a lot of salient themes came out. You have a lot of mindfulness behaviors too. Giving your full attention, taking time to respond to things, having a support system around you, having time for restoration and balance. So you really do have a pretty strong mindfulness habit woven in.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. I've failed enough myself, and I've seen enough failures, and you go through those moments, you're beating yourself on the head, whether it's why am I doing this, or what am I doing wrong, or is this, am I right for this, and just so taking that step back.
So many thoughts just run
all of the
cycles
time,
all day,
and just responding to those correctly with self-care. I think it comes down to self-care, because you can't give to anybody else or your business if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so we're running out of time here, Justin. It's been a really insightful experience. How can we support the community, the movement, the restaurants? What's the best way for us to find you online?
Yeah, I mean, definitely very active, Instagram at Chef Justin Sutherland. You can shoot me an email anytime you need help if you're around at info at Chef Justin Sutherland. And, I'm very accessible, very, very findable in the world. So I appreciate any support, and I appreciate having the opportunity to talk with you.
Definitely. So we'll put those all in the show notes. Justin, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, but a mindful guy indeed. Awesome. So, we appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you.
Cheers.